Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Canadian Pioneer. Our content is firstly available on Rumble, and you can further follow us on X for updates. We've also decided to post some videos to YouTube in hopes of reaching a larger audience. This channel is a place for all patriots to discuss and analyze events that affect Canadians, and to offer hope in the face of all the craziness in the world today. Hit follow and sub to our channel to be notified when our next video drops. Today we're going to discuss the Canadian state-funded media, such as the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation or CBC. These networks receive huge yearly payouts from the federal government to keep them afloat, and it is well known that these payments directly influence their biases, because as the old saying goes, you don't bite the hand that feeds. The CBC itself receives a government payment of over $1 billion every single year, and Justin Trudeau has steadily increased this since coming into power, ensuring continued mainstream media support. Meanwhile, while the CBC gets over $1 billion, this year the Liberals are cutting the Canadian defense budget by $1 billion. Media should be completely independent from the government to stop its influence and exploitation over it. Even if a media outlet is left or right-leaning, then it should gain its support independently, and not have to rely on the state to fund it. Do you think that these media corporations, or any organization for that matter, would treat federal parties the same in their coverage, if one federal party wants to keep the funding and another party wants to cut it? The official Liberal Party website even has a link to show your support to the CBC, so we can see where they stand on the matter. If the majority of Canadians wanted and appreciated what the CBC offered, then it wouldn't need over $1 billion a year from the government to survive. If it had support, then people and companies would support it with subscriptions, donations, and advertising, such as independent media outlets have to do. If this was the case, then the CBC would have to be accountable to the people for its content, instead of being accountable to the government paying them. Even with the billion-dollar handouts, this year the CBC says it will cut 10% of its workforce because of a $125 million shortfall. Perhaps if you can't make ends meet, you should stop throwing around money. In 2022, the CBC handed out $16 million in bonuses to their employees. Could you imagine taking $1 billion in tax money and then passing out $16 million in bonuses? What kind of mismanagement is going on at the CBC? The Liberals even stopped the Conservatives from putting in a motion to ban CBC bonuses. It's a slap in the face when Canadians struggle to make ends meet, and these corporations that take huge government payouts think it's okay to hand out bonuses to their well-paid six-figure executives. The CBC has long since tarnished its reputation, and with the age of the Internet, people have been able to call it out for what it has become. Alternative media has gained huge popularity because now people do not rely on so-called mainstream news sources. So, with the rise in popularity of independent media, this is seen as a threat to the Liberal Party, and organizations such as the CBC, because they can no longer control the narrative and must answer to the truth. That won't stop them from trying though, as Trudeau and the Liberals tout online hate and disinformation to justify sweeping authoritarian control. In 2021, blaming online spaces as a threat to democracy, and blaming it for things such as COVID misinformation, which many of the concerns risen by people they accused of then being anti-vax, have now turned out to be justified in their questions and concerns. Since 2021, the Liberals have passed the online streaming bill that forces the state-funded media into many aspects of your online presence, because of course, Justin Trudeau and the government knows what media information is best for you. Even the president of the CBC, Catherine Tait, recently tweeted, "The surge of disinformation and abuse online has become one of the most threatening phenomena of our time." Are there extremists online? Of course, including on the far left, but to make these claims that it is the most threatening phenomena is absurd, fear-mongering, and again a way to try and justify government control. So why else are people sick of the CBC besides it being used to promote the Liberal Party? While they've been largely involved with promoting many far-left extremist ideas themselves, which puts them at odds with many Canadians. They run articles about how to deal with the problematic Dr. Seuss, celebrating the removal of police resource officers from schools, or they focus on a federal party skin color. Employees, such as Redhi and Simon Pillai, the so-called pop culture columnists for CBC syndicated radio, make claims that people who watch the movie The Sound of Freedom, a movie about and bringing awareness of children being trafficked, is a dog whistle for xenophobic pro-Trump and pro-life types.
But this is the way it beat it. Like, this is where things get really, really wild. Because, like, as I said, none of us heard of this movie, and you would have only heard of this movie if you are a regular among church groups, or you regularly watch Fox News, or you follow right-wing personalities like Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and the like, or you are a QAnon conspiracy theorist, or part of the so-called freedom movements. But make no mistake, I think the movie's success has a lot to do with it being a dog whistle for xenophobic, pro-Trump, pro-life types. I guess we can't say that the movie itself is made by QAnon types. I mean, the filmmakers deny that entirely. But certainly, Operation Underground Railroads, their political goals make it something that QAnon conspiracy theorists would rally behind. Just like racists like to rally behind Trump without him having to say anything overtly racist, right?
Does the movie that is based on a true story make some changes to be more entertaining? Yes, but what movie hasn't? The point of the movie is to bring awareness to a significant problem in the world. And how is a movie about saving Latin children living in another country from abuse considered xenophobic? It defeats the whole accusation. And you're pro-life because you stop children from being abused? Sign me up. Do they conveniently forget that powerful people such as Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were charged with running an underage sex trafficking organization on an exotic island that was visited frequently by very powerful people, including Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and Prince Andrew? Maxwell herself was recently sent to jail for 20 years for her involvement. Or how about their previous co-worker, CBC employee Vincent Paytwash, who was recently charged with sexual interference and sexual assault on a minor? Perhaps he wants you to forget about the many Canadians charged for abusing children in foreign countries, such as the teacher, Christopher Paul Neal. Last year, 47 Canadians were arrested in a global sex abuse operation. It's disgusting that a CBC employee would try to shame people for watching and supporting a movie that is trying to spread awareness of some of the most depraved acts happening in the world. It is so bad in the CBC environment that even one of their journalists, Tara Hanaley, quit the CBC. From this 2022 National Post article, Hanaley admitted she used to be one of the farthest leaning left in the organization, but in a short time she was considered a conservative for sparking tension when questioning identity politics. She further states the CBC went from being a trusted source of news to churning out clickbait, and that the current climate is to embrace cognitive dissonance and to abandon journalistic integrity. And that you have to accept the idea that race is the most significant thing about a person. True North also reported that another former CBC employee, Marianne Cloack, testified at a national citizens' inquiry that the public broadcaster barred any fair coverage of the harms of lockdowns or vaccines. Cloack stated, "I know that as a public broadcaster you'd expect us to be telling you the truth, and we stopped doing that. And it was a number of stories that I have put forward that were blocked, but it seemed to me as a journalist who'd been there 34 years, it's like the rules had changed overnight. And it changed so quickly that it left me just dizzy." Perhaps all of these examples are just some of the reasons that have contributed to the erosion of public trust in the CBC and other mainstream media. Now remember folks, this is an organization that receives over $1 billion a year of your hard-earned contributed tax money, and this is where Justin Trudeau and the Liberals want you to get your news and information from. The good news though, it looks like the momentum to cut CBC and other media public funding is gaining momentum. The Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre, has said that they plan on cutting CBC funding if they win the next election, which though has turned up the anti-conservative biases as the mainstream media try to remain at the trough. I mean, Tate does need to somehow pay for a $5.4 million residence in Brooklyn, New York. Independent news continues to gain in popularity and will keep mainstream media and the government accountable. And maybe with the money saved by cutting the media payouts, we can put it back where it should be, oh I don't know, perhaps back into Canadian defense. Hit the like on this video, follow and sub to the channel, so you'll be notified of the next video we drop before Justin Trudeau and his high command attempt to send it down the memory hole. Have a great day everyone, God bless.